Land Rover Defender, the baddest truck you ever saw. The Falklands War. Moontown Road. A plan. Grandpa Lamberth. Rock salt. "Where have you guys been?" I shouted as Hyder and I ran out our front door to meet Squid. We'd been waiting for what seemed like hours. It was dark. Squid's truck looked like it ought to be a part of a safari in the African veldt rather than sitting in front of our quaint Victorian house in our Midwestern town. Its back end consisted of a tailgate and above that an army green tarp. Leonardo brushed the tarp aside and leaned out. "We got the gun," he said, "and check out this badass truck." Hyder and I hopped into the back to find Leonardo and Popeye on one side and Adam Keen sitting across from them. They sat on metal bed seats and they faced each other, a steel floor between them. I understood quickly why Squid's dad spent over $50,000 on the beast. As I climbed in, I felt like a member of a foreign legion, about to be driven to the front lines of some heroic battle. Squid leaned over and looked back at us from the passenger seat. He waved, a big smile on his face. Where was the driver? Why wasn't it Squid? I saw it then. The steering wheel was in front of Squid, on the wrong side. "This thing's from England," Squid shouted happily, explaining the steering wheel's odd placement in a rather abstruse way. "Is it even legal to drive?" I asked. Nobody seemed to care. I didn't get an answer. "I feel like I'm going to fight Argentina," said Hyder as he inspected the inside of the Land Rover. "What?" asked Keen. "You know," Hyder said as he sat down next to Popeye, his knees nearly touching Keen's, who sat directly across from him. "Argentina. They fought the British in the Falklands War." He was met by impatient silence. "You know, the war over the Falkland Islands." "K2, said Leonardo. "Shut up." The gun lay across Leonardo's lap. Hyder shut up. If we looked like a paramilitary squad, the senior float site looked like a prison camp. We drove through the darkness along country roads to get out there, and then, just over a bridge in Small Hill, Squid was stopped by two boys with tin buckets in their hands. There were eggs in the buckets. Ammunition. "Who goes there?" asked the boy on the right side of the truck as he leaned in towards Squid. He was all business. He wore a black knit skull cap and an army jacket. He even had a little face black smeared on his cheeks. "It's Sidney Porter," asked Squid. "What the hell are you doing out here?" said the other boy in a heavy flannel shirt and a Cincinnati Reds hat. He didn't seem to take his job as a sentry quite as seriously as his partner did. "And why's your steering wheel on the wrong side?" While Squid talked, we looked out the small rectangular windows in the back of the truck. The senior float site was well guarded. The barn, where their float must have been, was set back nearly a quarter mile from the road. Along the dirt two-track that led to it were a series of small campfires. It looked like the entire senior class, nearly 200 kids, were either building the float or had been charged to protect it. Squid put the Defender into reverse. With a whine, it backed up. He did a quick T-turn, and we were making our way back towards town. "We're not getting in there," Squid shouted back. "No way." I could almost feel the heat coming off Leonardo. He was frustrated, but he wasn't done. "We just need a plan," he said quietly. And I thank God for that. I hadn't had a clue what we were doing as we drove out there. Did we intend to shoot their float? Did we intend to shoot their ninja? Our teammate, Chad Yost? Sure, he was a jerk, but I didn't want to spend any time in jail over him. I breathed easier on our way back to the Lamberth barn. A disaster had been averted, or so I thought. But then we got to the freshman float, and Grandpa Lamberth got involved. Things got weird. "You boys, don't park over there," Grandpa Lamberth shouted as Squid pulled into a soft patch of earth, sinking down to the axles. "Damn it all," Grandpa said. "You're stuck now, sure." "No, we're not," bragged Squid. And he put the Defender into 4 low, and sure enough, it popped right out back onto solid ground. "Pretty impressive vehicle," I heard Grandpa say. We were all still on the back of the truck. He didn't even know we were back there. "Steering wheel's on the wrong side," he said. "It's British," I heard Squid reply proudly. "I know it's British," grumbled Grandpa Lamberth. "I was telling a damn joke. You just didn't get it." I motioned for Leonardo to hide the gun, as Grandpa's creaky old voice seemed to be getting closer, but just then the cloth hanging down, hiding us from view, was torn to the side, and Grandpa's wrinkled old prune of a head poked in. His gaze immediately fell on the shotgun in Leonardo's lap. "Say now," he said, "what are you boys about here?" I was about to try to come up with a good lie when Hyder stepped in. "We were going to shoot some of those seniors who wrecked our float. Or maybe we were just going to shoot their float." "Shoot 'em, eh?" Grandpa Lamberth didn't seem nearly as worried at the prospect as I did. "How come you didn't?" "We couldn't get in," said Keene. "Well," said Grandpa, "what's plan B?" "We didn't really even have a plan A," I admitted. "Well," said Grandpa slowly, "I was pretty sure he was going to lecture us on the futility of violence, the idea that everyone loses in war, all that stuff. Instead, he said, 'I'd like a piece of them boys myself.' His eyes grew glassy in the moonlight. 'Coming on my property without my permission, scaring you good kids half to death.' He looked at Leonardo, then nodded at the gun in his lap. 'I say we load that son of a bitch with rock salt. And I say we lure those bastards in here and shoot 'em in the back when they're running to get away from us. And I say we listen to 'em scream while that salt melts in their very flesh.' His eyes suddenly switched back to those of a contented old man again. 'How's that sound?' he asked, with a perfect smile that displayed his dentures nicely. 'That sounds very, very good,' said Leonardo, his white teeth shining, his smile seemingly taking up half his face.